Elias stepped off the shuttle and onto the landing platform of the Zephyrian Palace, his boots clicking against the smooth, glowing surface. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the nervous flutter in his chest. He had trained for many things: long voyages, alien customs, complex protocols, but nothing could have prepared him for the sheer scale and beauty of the palace before him. Massive crystalline spires rose into the sky, reflecting light from the nearby sun in colors he could not name. The air hummed softly with energy, and tiny drones flitted around, attending to tasks with quiet efficiency. "Welcome, human," a voice said behind him. Elias turned sharply. A tall, slender Zyphorian attendant stood there, robes flowing like liquid silver. Their skin shimmered faintly under the sunlight, and their eyes were wide and curious. "I am Lyran. I will escort you to the Queen." Elias nodded. "Thank you," he said, his voice firmer than he felt. He tried to hide his awe. It was impossible. Every corner of the palace seemed alive, humming with secrets and power. He followed Lyran along corridors that twisted like ribbons, the walls lined with alien art and strange glowing symbols. Some of the symbols pulsed gently as if reacting to his presence. He wondered if they could read him somehow. Finally, they arrived at a large chamber. The doors opened, and Elias caught his first glimpse of Queen Thalira. She was seated on a throne that seemed to float a few inches above the floor. Her form was elegant and regal, tall and commanding. Her skin was a pale blue that shimmered softly, her hair a cascade of silver strands that moved as if alive. Her eyes, large and golden, focused on him with an intensity that made him catch his breath. "You are Elias," she said, her voice musical but carrying weight. "The humans sent you to care for me. I hope you understand the responsibility you bear." "I will do my best, Your Majesty," Elias replied, bowing slightly. She studied him for a long moment, her gaze sharp and calculating. "Good," she finally said. "You may rise." Elias straightened, trying to hide the tension in his shoulders. He had been warned the Queen was unusual, but he did not expect the quiet power she radiated. The attendants around her kept their distance, standing perfectly still, eyes lowered. He noticed that even Lyran seemed tense now. "You will have duties," the Queen continued. "Many of them ordinary, some less so. You must follow my instructions carefully. Do not fail me." "I understand," Elias said, and he truly did, though he did not yet know what the less ordinary tasks would entail. Lyran gestured to a side door. "Follow me. You will first see your quarters and the areas you will maintain." The quarters were more than he expected. A small but elegant room with soft, glowing light panels, furniture that seemed alive with subtle motion, and a window that looked out over the floating city of the palace. Elias set his bag down and let himself breathe for a moment. It was beautiful, yes, but it was also intimidating. Everything about this place reminded him that he was a guest in a world far beyond human comprehension. The first day was spent learning protocols. Elias followed Lyran through halls, learning when to bow, how to address the Queen, and how to interact with the other palace staff. He noticed the strange hierarchy. Some attendants moved with ease and confidence, while others seemed nervous, whispering quietly and avoiding the Queen's gaze. During a break, he wandered a small corridor by himself. He noticed a room with a partially open door. Inside, holographic images of stars, planets, and alien maps floated in the air. He peeked closer. The room appeared to be some kind of planning or observation area. He did not dare enter, but he made a mental note. There was more to this palace than anyone had said. Later, he returned to the throne chamber. Queen Thalira was seated as before, but now she seemed more relaxed, though her eyes still followed him. She did not speak at first, simply observing him as if weighing his every movement. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. "Do you understand humans?" she asked suddenly, her golden eyes fixed on him. Elias blinked. I think so, Your Majesty. I have studied human behavior, customs, and history." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "I do not mean facts. I mean understanding. Humans think differently from us. They feel differently. Tell me, what makes humans curious?" Elias hesitated. It was a simple question, but it felt like a test. "Curiosity comes from wanting to know, to explore, to understand things we have not seen before," he said finally. "We seek patterns, stories, answers, and sometimes we seek connection with others." Her lips curved in what could almost be called a smile. "Interesting. You speak well. Perhaps you are suited to serve not only my needs, but my understanding." Elias nodded, unsure what that meant. He had not expected the Queen to test him in this way, or to ask such personal questions. Over the next few hours, he began to notice subtle oddities in her behavior. She moved with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. She watched him when he was not speaking. Sometimes she would appear in rooms without anyone announcing her arrival, yet always in places where she could observe him without being noticed. He mentioned nothing. It was not his place to question her methods. That evening, Elias returned to his quarters. He felt both exhausted and exhilarated. The palace was vast and he barely understood its systems. But the Queen herself fascinated him. There was intelligence there, yes, but something more. A depth, a curiosity, perhaps even a loneliness. He could not be sure. Before he slept, he reviewed the day's events in his mind. He had followed protocols, learned routines, and survived his first meeting with the Queen without offending her. But he also realized one thing clearly. Nothing about this assignment would be ordinary. The Queen's hidden desires, whatever they were, loomed over him like shadows he could not yet name. He did not know if he would understand them soon, or if they would test him beyond anything he had faced before. But as he drifted to sleep, he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. A simple job to care for a queen had already turned into an adventure he could not have imagined. And somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Outside, the palace shimmered under the light of the distant sun. Drones moved silently along the spires. Somewhere within the walls, Queen Thalira observed, her golden eyes reflecting the light. Elias would soon learn that serving a queen was not just about attending to her needs. It was about understanding the desires that no one else dared speak of. And Elias? He was not sure if he was ready. The next morning, Elias awoke to the soft hum of the palace's energy fields. Light filtered in from the walls, changing colors slowly, like the dawn on a faraway planet. He stretched and prepared himself for another day of learning the Queen's routines. But he had a growing sense that today would be different. Something about Queen Thalira's gaze yesterday lingered in his mind, an intensity that seemed almost alive. Lyran appeared at his door, bowing slightly. "The Queen requests your presence, Elias. She has tasks for you today." Elias nodded. He followed silently through the winding corridors. Each hall seemed more elaborate than the last. Walls lined with glowing glyphs and shifting panels that displayed abstract patterns. Occasionally, a drone hovered close, observing him with quiet curiosity. He arrived at the throne chamber to find Queen Thalira already waiting, seated in her usual calm and regal posture. She did not speak immediately, only observed him, golden eyes sharp and unblinking. "Stand here," she said finally, gesturing to a spot a few steps away. Elias obeyed. "I have work for you beyond the ordinary," she said. "You will assist me not just in physical matters, but in matters of understanding. I want you to help me see the human mind in ways my studies cannot reach." Elias blinked. I am honored, Your Majesty. But could you explain what you mean?" She leaned slightly forward, her eyes gleaming. "I wish to observe human reactions to situations I create. Small challenges, choices. I want to see how humans think, feel, and act when faced with new experiences." Elias swallowed. This was not part of his job description, or any job description he had ever read. And yet he felt a strange curiosity rising in him. He had always liked puzzles, solving problems, and understanding behavior. "Very well," he said carefully. "I will do my best." The Queen's lips curved faintly. "Good, your first task is simple. You will help me prepare for a meditation exercise. But this exercise is unusual." Elias followed her through a narrow passage to a chamber he had never seen. It was circular, walls made of transparent crystal that allowed him to see the glowing spires of the palace outside. In the center, a platform floated a few inches above the floor. It radiated a soft light that pulsed gently, almost as if it were alive. "Step onto the platform," the Queen instructed. "Do not be afraid. This is a test of focus, observation, and understanding." Elias hesitated for a moment, then stepped onto the platform. The moment his feet touched it, he felt a subtle vibration run through his body. Light patterns shifted around him, forming images he did not recognize. Landscapes, faces, emotions frozen in color. His mind raced, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The Queen's voice echoed in his mind, not out loud, but as if it were inside him. "Observe carefully. Feel without judgment. Respond only when prompted." Elias focused, trying to calm himself. He noticed how the images seemed to change when he thought about them. as if the platform responded to his mind. He realized that this was more than meditation. It was a way for the Queen to understand human perception, emotional reaction, and thought patterns. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the platform lowered him gently back to the floor. He stumbled slightly, dizzy but exhilarated. Queen Thalira watched him closely, her golden eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Interesting," she said softly. "You reacted with caution yet curiosity. You seek to understand before acting, that is valuable." Elias nodded, still catching his breath. "It is fascinating, Your Majesty. I have never experienced anything like this." She inclined her head. "There is more to learn. Follow me." They moved to another chamber, smaller and lined with glowing panels displaying holographic images of humans. Elias recognized scenes of families, markets, cities, and celebrations, human life in its many forms. The Queen gestured to the images. "These are the subjects of your next task," she said. "Observe them carefully. Tell me what you notice about their behavior, their choices, their emotions. Do not filter your observations. Humans are unpredictable. That is why they are so intriguing." Elias studied the holograms, noticing details he had overlooked before. A child's laughter changing the mood of a group, subtle gestures of kindness between strangers, moments of hesitation before someone made a decision. He realized that Queen Thalira was not merely curious. She was studying the essence of human nature, the things that made them both fragile and strong. As he shared his observations, the Queen listened intently, asking questions that pushed him to think deeper. "Why do they act in this way?" she asked. "Why do they choose kindness even when fear exists? Why do they risk themselves for others?" Elias thought carefully. Humans value connection. They value trust, loyalty, and understanding. They act because they see meaning in their relationships. Even when danger exists, they seek to protect what matters to them. The Queen's gaze softened slightly, and Elias noticed a rare hint of emotion in her expression. "I see, that is enlightening. You have much to teach me." Over the next few days, Elias's tasks became increasingly unusual. He helped the Queen select rare items from distant planets, arranging them in ways she claimed would stimulate human-like thinking. He participated in alien rituals that involved light, sound, and emotion, each one designed to test his perception and reaction. Sometimes the requests were simple, arranging flowers or observing patterns, but each held subtle lessons. Elias began to notice patterns in the Queen herself. She was fascinated by human stories, art, and behaviors. She would ask about his past, his family, and the choices he had made. She seemed to hunger for understanding, not as a scientist, but as someone seeking connection. Yet there were moments that unsettled him. Sometimes she would appear in rooms silently, watching him without speaking. Her gaze felt like it could see through walls into his thoughts. He began to wonder how much of his own reactions she was recording, studying, or even influencing. One evening, after a long day of tasks, Elias returned to his quarters. He sat on the edge of the bed thinking about everything that had happened. He realized that his position was no longer simple. He was not just a caretaker. He was a participant in the Queen's study, a bridge between human nature and alien understanding. A soft chime echoed through his room. It was a message from Queen Thalira. He opened it carefully. The holographic text hovered before him. "Elias, you have observed well. Tomorrow I will test your creativity and problem-solving. Be ready. Do not fear the unexpected." Elias stared at the message, heart racing. The tasks were no longer just strange, they were personal, challenging, and unlike anything he had faced before. He realized he had two choices: retreat into safety and obedience, or embrace the challenge and explore the Queen's hidden desires. He chose the latter. The next morning, he arrived at the throne chamber, determined to face whatever lay ahead. Queen Thalira was waiting, as always, her gaze steady and unwavering. "Today," she said, "you will help me with something that requires both skill and insight. You will see facets of my world that no one else ever witnesses. You will not fail." Elias nodded, feeling a strange mixture of fear and excitement. He had begun to understand one truth. Caring for the Queen was not about following orders or maintaining appearances. It was about trust, understanding, and the courage to face the unknown. As they moved deeper into the palace, Elias felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The Queen's hidden desires, whatever they were, loomed ahead, and he could not yet predict their nature. but he was ready to discover them. Step by step, guided by curiosity, courage, and a growing respect for the enigmatic ruler he served. Somewhere deep in the palace, the queen watched him, a faint smile playing on her lips. She had tested humans before, but none had intrigued her like Elias, and she intended to see just how far he would go to understand her world and her desires. Elias's journey had truly begun. The morning light spilled across Elias's quarters as he awoke to the familiar hum of the palace. Each day felt heavier and brighter at the same time. The palace was a maze of shimmering corridors, floating platforms, and ever-shifting light, but Elias had begun to feel less like a stranger in its halls. The queen's unusual tasks were becoming more familiar, though no less challenging. He dressed and headed toward the throne chamber. Lyran met him at the corridor's entrance. Their expression was unreadable as always, but their eyes flicked briefly toward the central hallway. "The queen awaits," Lyran said softly. Elias followed, stepping into the familiar chamber. Queen Thalira sat on her throne, her golden eyes fixed on him. She was quiet, almost still, but the energy in the room seemed to pulse around her, subtle but unmistakable. "Elias," she said finally, "yesterday you observed well, but now I wish to see more than observation. I wish for action." Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of anticipation and unease. "I am ready, Your Majesty." "Good," she said. "Follow me." The queen led him down a narrow corridor that Elias had never noticed before. The walls shimmered faintly as if aware of their presence. At the end of the passage was a door embedded with intricate symbols that seemed to glow when she touched them. "This chamber is private," she said, her voice lowering slightly. "No one may enter without my permission. What you see here is hidden from the rest of my court. You may observe and assist, but do not speak unless asked." Elias nodded. He felt his heart quicken. Something about the way she spoke made it clear that he was about to see a part of her world that no one else could. The door slid open, revealing a vast room filled with floating holograms, shimmering in midair. Each one displayed humans, faces, actions, cities, and private moments captured with startling clarity. Elias stepped forward, fascinated. "What is this place?" he asked quietly. "It is a record," the queen said, her eyes scanning the holograms. "A record of your species. I have studied humans for many cycles, but these are deeper than history or art. They are moments, choices, emotions, reactions. I wish to understand not just your actions, but your essence." Elias's eyes widened. You have been studying humans this long?" "Yes," she said simply. "Few of my people care to understand another species. Curiosity is seen as unnecessary, but I have long observed humans, and now I wish to test the limits of understanding through you." Elias felt a chill of responsibility. He had expected challenges, but this was entirely different. He was not just observing. He was part of her experiment. The queen gestured toward a hologram. It depicted a crowded marketplace on a human world. People moved quickly, exchanging goods, talking, laughing. Elias studied them carefully. "Describe their actions," she instructed. "They interact with each other openly," Elias said, trying to focus. "There is trust in their movements. Even strangers help one another. They seem cooperative yet cautious, and they show emotion in small ways, smiles, gestures, glances." The queen tilted her head, absorbing his words. "And why do they behave this way?" Elias paused. "Humans value connection. They act not only for themselves, but for the people around them. They find meaning in relationships. Even small actions carry significance." "Interesting," the queen said. "You understand the surface. But what about their hidden desires? Their fears? Their ambitions?" Elias felt a surge of curiosity. Humans are driven by more than logic. They are creative, impulsive, sometimes reckless. They take risks to gain understanding, to protect what matters, to achieve what seems impossible. Fear guides them, but it also inspires courage. The queen's eyes glimmered with satisfaction. "Yes, that is what I wish to see. You will help me observe more deeply. There are facets of human nature that even you may not recognize in yourself." Over the following hours, Elias worked alongside the queen, analyzing the holograms and offering insights. She asked questions that pushed him to think in ways he had never considered. Why do they forgive? Why do they challenge authority? Why do they care for strangers as much as family? Elias answered with careful thought. Humans, we see patterns in life. They understand that connection strengthens survival. They act for meaning, not only for necessity. Even when the choice is difficult, they follow what feels right. The Queen nodded slowly. You speak with clarity. Few humans recognize their own nature. You are unusual. As the day wore on, Elias noticed tension in the palace. Certain attendants whispered when they thought no one was listening. Lyran's usual calm seemed strained. He realized that his closeness to the Queen had not gone unnoticed. Some members of the court were wary, even hostile, yet none dared speak openly. That evening, Elias returned to his quarters, exhausted but alive with thought. He reflected on the Queen's experiments, how her curiosity had grown into something far beyond ordinary observation. She was testing him as much as he was testing her understanding of humans. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. It was a message from Queen Thalira. He activated it, and her image appeared, glowing softly in the room. Elias, you have done well. Tomorrow you will face challenges that require ingenuity and courage. There are forces in my court that may not trust your presence. You must navigate carefully. Do not fail. Elias felt a chill. The Queen's warning was subtle but unmistakable. The palace was not only a place of beauty and knowledge, it was also a place of political intrigue and hidden agendas. The next morning, he encountered the first sign of conflict. While delivering a message, he was stopped by two attendants he had never met before. Their expressions were sharp and their tone carried a cold edge. Human, one said, you spend too much time with the Queen. You do not understand her people. You risk more than you know. Elias straightened. I serve the Queen as instructed. My loyalty is to her alone. The attendants exchanged glances. Be careful. Not all who watch you mean well, Elias continued, heart pounding. He realized the warning was real. Serving the Queen meant not only meeting her desires and expectations, but also navigating the hidden conflicts of her court. Later that day, Queen Thalira summoned him again. Elias, you have sensed tension, she said. You are correct. Some members of my court resent your presence. They believe you are intruding upon matters they cannot understand. I did not know, Elias said, surprised. How should I act? Observe. Learn. Do not react with fear or anger. Your humanity is your strength. It is why I chose you. Others cannot comprehend it. Elias felt both relief and responsibility. The Queen trusted him not only for his skills, but for his perspective as a human. His unique view of life, connection, and problem-solving was exactly what she sought. Over the following days, he continued his work in the secret chamber. He learned to anticipate the Queen's questions, interpret her subtle cues, and explore human nature with her guidance. He began to understand the depth of her hidden desires, not physical but intellectual and emotional. She wanted insight, connection, and the courage to challenge norms. One night, Elias returned to his quarters and looked out over the palace. Lights shimmered like stars, drones moved silently, and the halls below were quiet. He thought about everything he had learned, the Queen's curiosity, her hidden experiments, the tensions in the court. He realized that this job was no longer ordinary. It had become a journey into the unknown, a test of skill, intellect, and character. And the Queen's hidden desires were not only fascinating, they were dangerous if mishandled, but Elias felt ready. He had learned that being human meant more than following orders. It meant thinking, feeling, and acting with courage and creativity. In serving Queen Thalira, he would prove that humans were capable of more than anyone imagined. As he lay down to sleep, he knew the palace held more secrets than he could see. The Queen's desires, the court's tensions, and the hidden chambers of knowledge were just the beginning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and Elias would face them with determination, curiosity, and the courage that had brought him this far. Somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Thalira watched silently. Her golden eyes glimmered with anticipation. Elias had passed her first true test of understanding. The next challenges would not only test his intelligence, but his resilience, his creativity, and his loyalty. And she intended to see just how far a human could go in unraveling her world, and the hidden desires that no one else dared explore. The palace was quieter than usual that morning. Elias walked through the corridors with purpose, carrying tools and datapads he had never used before. His tasks had shifted again. The Queen had requested his presence for a project she described only as essential to understanding human potential. Lyran intercepted him at a junction. "The Queen awaits you," they said, their tone neutral but carrying a subtle warning. "Others in the court are uneasy with your involvement. Tread carefully." Elias nodded. He had grown used to these warnings. The palace was a place of beauty, but beneath the surface, currents of tension ran deep. Those currents had nothing to do with him personally. It was his position, his closeness to Queen Thalira, that unnerved the court. He entered the throne chamber, and as always, the Queen was waiting. She did not speak immediately, simply observing him with her golden eyes, the quiet hum of energy in the room surrounding her like a living presence. "Elias," she said at last, "you have proven capable in observation and understanding. Now you must help me shape knowledge into action. There are projects I have begun, but none can execute them but one human who comprehends my vision." Elias's heart quickened. "I am ready, Your Majesty." She gestured to a small chamber adjoining the throne room. The walls glowed with holographic maps, flowing symbols, and images of distant planets. In the center hovered a platform displaying three-dimensional projections of machinery, starships, and technologies he had never seen before. "These are innovations I wish to implement," she explained. "My court resists change. They do not understand the potential of human reasoning combined with Zephyrian technology. You will be my partner in demonstration." Elias stepped closer, fascinated. "What do you wish me to do?" "You will use your understanding of humans, your creativity, problem-solving, and intuition to improve these designs. Then you will show the court the value of collaboration, reasoning, and ingenuity. If done correctly, it will prove the strength of human-alien partnership." Elias studied the projections. At first glance, the technology seemed almost incomprehensible. Machines that could manipulate energy fields, engines that could bend space, systems designed to respond to thought patterns. He had to learn their logic before he could contribute. Queen Thalira observed him silently, waiting, as if she could sense his comprehension even before he himself understood. Elias worked tirelessly, taking notes, asking questions, and experimenting with the projections. Slowly, he began to recognize patterns and principles. His human mind approached problems differently from Zephyrian logic. Where their systems were cautious and precise, he considered flexibility and adaptability. Where their methods were rigid, he applied creativity. The Queen's golden eyes sparkled. "See, this is why I chose you. You think in ways my people cannot. You see connections others ignore. Humans are unpredictable and yet effective." Over the following days, they worked together closely. The Queen observed Elias's every action, occasionally offering guidance but mostly allowing him the freedom to explore, fail, and succeed. She asked questions that challenged him to think beyond immediate solutions, to consider long-term consequences, ethics, and human values. In turn, Elias began to see a different side of Queen Thalira. She was not simply a ruler or a researcher. She was a visionary, someone willing to take risks, to challenge traditions, and to seek understanding where others saw only control. She was fascinated by human thought and reasoning, and her hidden desires were not selfish. They were about connection, knowledge, and progress. Their collaboration did not go unnoticed. Rumors spread quietly through the palace. Some attendants whispered, "The human is influencing the Queen. He is too close. He may sway her decisions." Others murmured, "Perhaps he has insight we cannot see. Perhaps the Queen has chosen wisely." One afternoon, as Elias prepared a new demonstration of human-alien collaboration, two attendants confronted him in a secluded corridor. Their expressions were stern, their posture rigid. "You should leave," one said coldly. "You are not one of us. You do not belong in the Queen's projects. Step aside before you cause more trouble." Elias met their gaze. "I serve the Queen as she instructs. My role is to help her achieve understanding and progress. I am not here to compete with anyone else." The attendants exchanged a look. "You are arrogant, human. Be careful. Loyalty here is fragile, and your presence is being tested." Elias nodded calmly. "Thank you for your warning. I will act with caution, but I will not abandon my duties." He returned to the Queen's chamber, aware that the political currents of the court were growing more intense. Yet he felt a sense of purpose. For the first time, he understood that his role was not only to observe and assist, but to demonstrate the value of humanity itself. The Queen welcomed him with her usual calm. "You have sensed the tension," she said. "Good. Now you understand that knowledge and skill alone are insufficient. Humans excel not only in intellect but in adaptability, trust, and courage. You will need all of these to succeed. Together, they prepared for the demonstration. Elias applied human problem-solving to Zephyrian machinery, reconfiguring energy conduits, adjusting spatial arrays, and testing outcomes. The platform responded to his choices, adapting in ways even the Queen had not predicted. The room shimmered with success. Finally, they presented the results to a small gathering of the court. Attendants, advisors, and senior officials watched silently as Elias explained his reasoning and demonstrated the improved designs. At first there was doubt. Some murmured that human logic was unpredictable, even dangerous. But as the systems functioned flawlessly, responding to real-time challenges and demonstrating efficiency and flexibility, skepticism turned into admiration. Queen Thalira spoke last. Observe the outcome. A human's reasoning combined with Zephyrian knowledge has achieved what neither could accomplish alone. This is proof that collaboration across species, trust, and understanding can surpass tradition and expectation. The room fell silent, a mixture of astonishment and acceptance in the air. Elias realized that he had not only completed a task, he had earned respect, demonstrated human potential, and built an alliance with the Queen that few in the court could challenge. Later, in private, Queen Thalira turned to him. You have done well, Elias. Your ingenuity, courage, and understanding have exceeded my expectations. You are not just a caretaker. You are my partner, my human lens into a world few can comprehend. Elias felt a surge of pride. I am honored, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve as best I can. You do more than serve, she said softly. You illuminate. You teach. You remind me why humans are fascinating. Their collaboration deepened. Tasks grew more complex, combining diplomacy, technology, and insight. They worked on projects that could influence entire worlds, programs that would share knowledge, and plans to integrate human creativity with Zephyrian precision. Each day brought new challenges, and each success strengthened their bond. Yet tension still lingered in the court. Some factions resisted change, questioning the Queen's decisions and Elias's influence. They whispered of favoritism, of danger in trusting a human. But the Queen remained steadfast. She valued human potential, and she valued Elias's perspective. One evening, as they reviewed data from a planetary system, the Queen's expression softened. Elias, you have shown courage, intelligence, and patience. You have proven that humans are not only capable but essential in shaping progress. The court may resist, but truth cannot be ignored. Elias smiled, realizing how far he had come from the nervous human who first arrived at the palace. He had faced challenges, political tension, and unfamiliar tasks, and he had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident. The palace shimmered around them, a vast, beautiful structure alive with energy and secrets. And as he worked alongside the Queen, Elias understood something profound. In serving her, he was not just caring for a ruler. He was shaping a bridge between species, a path toward understanding, and a partnership that could change the galaxy. Somewhere deep in the palace, the Queen watched him with quiet satisfaction. Elias had proven his worth not through obedience alone, but through insight, courage, and humanity. And she knew the final tests. The most challenging trials were yet to come. But for now, they had forged an alliance that could not be broken. Together, human and Queen, they would navigate intrigue, innovation, and the hidden desires that shaped their world. Elias had found his place. He had become more than a caretaker. He had become a partner, a symbol of human potential, and a bridge between two very different civilizations, and he would not let that responsibility go. The palace was alive with quiet anticipation. Word of Elias's successes had spread, though rumors twisted details and stirred doubt among some attendants. Today, the Queen had summoned a larger audience to witness a demonstration unlike any the Zephyrian court had ever seen. It was a culmination of weeks of secret work, projects blending human creativity with Zephyrian technology, and the results would determine Elias's place in the palace for years to come. Elias adjusted the tools strapped to his side and stepped into the throne chamber. The room had been arranged for the demonstration. Floating platforms displayed complex machinery. Holographic projections filled the air with maps of distant star systems, and subtle energy fields shimmered with a faint pulse. Attendants, advisors, and senior officials assembled silently, watching with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. Queen Thalira rose from her throne, her presence commanding attention. Her golden eyes scanned the room, resting briefly on Elias. Today you will witness what human ingenuity, combined with Xiphorian knowledge, can accomplish. Elias has worked tirelessly, applying logic, creativity, and adaptability to achieve results that none of us could foresee. Elias stepped forward, his heart pounding but steady. He had rehearsed, but the work they had done was so novel that even rehearsals could not cover every possibility. He began explaining the demonstration in clear, simple terms, showing how the systems worked and how human problem-solving had enhanced efficiency, adaptability, and safety. The court remained silent. Skeptical glances shifted between each other. Some murmured doubts, but as the systems activated, energy flows aligning perfectly, engines powering without strain and machinery responding with fluid precision, disbelief turned to astonishment. Queen Thalira observed quietly, letting Elias guide the demonstration. She had orchestrated this moment carefully, but it was Elias's reasoning, his ingenuity, and his calm under pressure that would convince the court. Elias moved from platform to platform, adjusting conduits, realigning energy fields, and recalibrating systems in real time. Each choice he made improved the overall function. The final projection, a model of a starship using both human innovation and Xiphorian technology, glided smoothly through simulated space, responding to obstacles with precise coordination. A murmur rippled through the audience. Some attendants whispered in awe, while others exchanged surprised glances. This was more than technology. It was proof that humans could contribute in ways they had not imagined. The Queen raised her hand, and the room fell silent. Observe this carefully. Elias has applied human reasoning, perspective, and creativity. His decisions were guided not by rigid protocol, but by adaptability and insight. This demonstration proves that collaboration across species is not only possible, but essential for progress. A senior advisor stepped forward, cautious but intrigued. This is remarkable. The systems function flawlessly, even under conditions our own engineers have struggled to manage. Human reasoning has added value we did not expect. Elias nodded respectfully. The systems are designed to respond to logic, creativity, and adaptability. Humans tend to consider outcomes in ways that balance caution with exploration. That combination allows for innovative solutions. The Queen's eyes glimmered with satisfaction. Yes. And this is why humans are not only valuable but necessary. Elias has proven that your species can think differently, act decisively, and contribute beyond expectation. Applause, or the closest equivalent in Xiphorian culture, echoed softly through the chamber. Some attendants clapped lightly with their hands, others activated small energy pulses as signs of approval. The skeptics were subdued, unable to argue against what they had witnessed. Elias had earned their respect. Later, as the demonstration concluded, Queen Thalira summoned Elias to a private chamber. The golden light of the palace shimmered softly, reflecting off the crystalline walls. "You have done exceptionally well," she said, her voice calm but warm. "You have not only assisted me, but have shown the court what humanity is capable of. Few humans would succeed here, yet you have excelled." Elias felt a surge of pride and relief. "I could not have done this without your guidance, Your Majesty. You trusted me when no one else would." The Queen studied him carefully. "Trust is earned, but it must be measured. You have shown courage, creativity, and adaptability. Those qualities make you more than a caretaker. You are my partner in vision." Elias smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment that went beyond duty. For weeks he had navigated strange tasks, political tension, and the Queen's hidden experiments. Now he had proven that humans were capable of extraordinary contributions in a world that once seemed impossible to understand. Yet even as he basked in success, he noticed something deeper in the Queen's eyes, a quiet satisfaction but also curiosity. She was always thinking, planning, and exploring. Her hidden desires were not frivolous. They were about connection, understanding, and the courage to change the world. Over the following days, Elias and the Queen began implementing broader initiatives. Projects to integrate human insight with Xiphorian knowledge expanded. Data sharing programs, exploratory missions, and cultural exchanges were planned and executed under their guidance. The palace staff, once skeptical, gradually accepted Elias's presence as essential. Some continued to whisper doubts, but the results were undeniable. Human problem-solving, creativity, and perspective had improved efficiency, inspired new ideas, and demonstrated the potential for collaboration across species. Elias's role as a caretaker had evolved into a position of influence and respect. One evening, as he walked through the palace corridors, he reflected on his journey. When he first arrived, he had been nervous, unsure, and entirely new to this world. Now he felt at home, not because the palace was familiar, but because he had proven his ability to navigate its complexities, understand its people, and contribute meaningfully. A soft chime announced a message from the Queen. He opened it and her image appeared, standing in the soft golden light of the throne chamber. Elias, you have surpassed expectations. Your work has brought understanding, trust, and respect between our peoples. But your journey is not over. You have proven the potential of humans, and now you must continue to shape the path of collaboration. Are you ready? Elias smiled, feeling confidence he had never known before. Yes, Your Majesty. I am ready. The Queen's expression softened, a rare warmth touching her features. Then let us continue. Together, we will build a legacy that spans species, strengthens understanding, and honors the courage of those willing to embrace the unknown. In the days that followed, the palace grew livelier. Projects moved forward. Humans and Xiphorians began to exchange ideas openly, and the court slowly embraced the new vision. Elias continued his work with the Queen, navigating challenges with ingenuity and patience. The hidden desires she had once hinted at were now clearer, not selfish whims, but a deep curiosity to explore, understand, and connect. Elias realized something profound. Being human was not about following rules or performing tasks. It was about insight, courage, and the ability to adapt. The qualities he brought to the palace had changed not only the Queen's perception of humans, but also the course of the court and, potentially, the empire itself. One evening, as he stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing spires of the palace, the Queen joined him. She gazed at the horizon, then turned her golden eyes toward him. You have done more than I expected, she said. You have shown the power of humanity and the value of trust. You have become a symbol of what is possible. Elias felt a sense of peace and purpose. I only did what I could, Your Majesty. I could not have done it alone. No, she said softly. But together we have achieved something remarkable. And the story of our collaboration will endure, reminding others that courage, insight, and understanding are more powerful than fear, doubt, or prejudice. Elias looked out over the palace one last time that evening, thinking about how far he had come. What had begun as a simple assignment to care for a queen had transformed into an extraordinary journey of discovery, challenge, and growth. He had faced unfamiliar worlds, political intrigue, and hidden tests, and emerged stronger, wiser, and respected. The palace shimmered under the light of the distant stars, alive with energy, knowledge, and the quiet hum of possibility. Elias knew that his role was no longer just about service. He was a partner, a bridge between species, and a testament to the potential of humans in the vastness of the galaxy. And somewhere deep within the palace, Queen Thalira observed him, a faint smile playing on her lips. Together, they had forged a bond that would shape their world, proving that understanding, collaboration, and courage could overcome doubt, fear, and tradition. Elias's journey had reached a milestone, but the adventure was far from over. He had learned that being human meant more than survival. It meant insight, compassion, and the courage to embrace the unknown. And with the Queen by his side, he knew they could face anything the future held, creating a legacy of knowledge, trust, and partnership that would endure for generations. For the first time, Elias felt that he was not only part of this world, he was helping shape it, and that was more than he had ever imagined when he first arrived at the palace.